Hi, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm a relationship expert. I am a self-specialist, and I'm the director of the Center for Self-Differentiation in Indianapolis, Indiana, Carmel, Indiana. This video is entitled, How to Lose a Narcissist in 10 Days. Certainly the title is oversimplified. Certainly there can be many very complex situations in which we find ourselves, in which we're in a relationship with a narcissist, such as a boyfriend or girlfriend, or parents, or children, or any number of caregivers, friends, people around us. So there are lots of different types of relationships. And as you probably know, or surmise, that there are lots of different types of narcissists. This particular video, we're going to concentrate on more of the less toxic and less malignant narcissist, because I think that takes a little more specialized work when you're trying to leave a malignant narcissist who is abusive or stalking and doing all kinds of even criminal acts to keep you within their sphere of influence. But I still think these things would apply to almost anyone who's wanting to lose a narcissist. And I think in a nutshell, the best way to lose a narcissist is to find yourself. If you find yourself, a narcissist will not want you, a narcissist will not want to be with you, a narcissist will not be able to tolerate you. So that's one of the quickest ways, and I think the best ways. It's also the long-term goal for recovery. When we have been in a relationship with a narcissist, or we've been an adult child of a narcissist, and we're needing to recover as adults, and we grew up in a narcissistic home. So the very first thing I would suggest is, no contact, or if anything, limited contact, but no contact with the narcissist. And we want to first get out of the mirror, because we're in their mirror when we're always within their sphere of influence. And so we want to remove ourselves from the mirror. And again, for different narcissists, that may be easier or difficult depending upon their pathology and their difficulty and their personality disorder and their type of narcissism. I think second of all, since we have lacked self, and that's why we've gotten into a relationship with a narcissist, we lack self because we grew up in a narcissistic home, oftentimes if we're trying to recover. Also, if we've grown up with a narcissistic parent, it's not so unusual for us to grow up and fall in love with a narcissist. Also, if we're an ACOA, adult child of an alcoholic, alcoholism is a very narcissistic disease, and so it functions much like a narcissistic personality disorder, but it comes from a different cause, the use of alcohol and the addiction to alcohol. So since we lack a self, then we must quickly find some way to borrow self. And we start out finding ourselves by borrowing a self from others. Recovery groups, adult child of alcoholics groups, CODA groups, codependent anonymous groups, support groups, therapy groups, the adult child of narcissistic groups, there are a few around. Also Al-Anon is another good place to begin to find yourself, because that's where we have to start, is to quickly and immediately start working on self. And so we want to start to borrow one. We also can find a self-therapist or a counselor that we trust, who will begin to support us in our self-journey and focusing on ourselves. Because when we've been in the web of the narcissist and within the orbit of the narcissist, all of our focus has been around them. And the person it hasn't been around is around us. I would also suggest no contact with the flying monkeys, that you withhold that communication interaction with those whom the narcissist will send out to try and persuade you to come back, or to convince you, or to encourage your cognitive dissonance, meaning I don't know whether I should stay, I don't know whether I should go, and I feel caught in that dissonance. And the flying monkeys will come out and say, no, 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 you're the one that's crazy, not the narcissist. No, it's not your mother, it's you. You know, why do you give mom such a hard time? Well, mom's the narcissist. And then all the siblings come out and they're all telling you, no, 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 it's you. So we reduce our contact with the flying monkeys. I would suggest reading such as Psychopath Free book, Codependent No More. I would devour videos on sense of self, growing in a sense of self, overcoming codependency, and lack of self. There are lots of videos out there that can be of help to you. And I would devour them. I would put as much time focusing on self as we focus on the narcissist. And that's really hard because we don't realize how much time we've spent focusing on the narcissist. Be sure to reject your false feelings early on when we're trying to lose the narcissist. When I say false feelings, I'm talking about the feelings that come from childhood and come from the narcissist, such as the fog, you know, the obligation, guilt, failure, where we have false guilt, false failure, false obligation. And oftentimes if someone's been in a relationship with a narcissist, those are the main feelings they're feeling. What they don't realize is those feelings aren't real. Please understand me, I understand you're really having them, but they are not based on reality. They are based on fear, they are based on an unhealthy view of relationships, and they're based on our past from our family of origin. So they're kind of systems feelings. They're not my genuine feelings. They're feelings imposed on me from my emotional dynamics that I've been involved with over the years. Trust your goal, don't trust your false feelings. The goal is to find yourself. Also, stop rejecting yourself. Stop abandoning yourself. Often we fear abandonment, we fear rejection because we do that to ourselves. Once we overcome our self-fear, self-abandonment, self-rejection, once we begin to love ourselves, we don't fear the rejection and abandonment of others. So that's where we begin to stop not taking care of ourselves. Make us a priority. Make you a priority. So, again, focus on you and only you, not on the narcissist. Think of the enmeshment emotionally that you have with the narcissist early on in your beginnings to disconnect from them. Think of your enmeshment as an addiction, because enmeshment is an addiction. It's our drug of choice. It's the alcohol, the cocaine we keep going back for. I need that enmeshment. If I'm not enmeshed with the narcissist, then who am I? And remember, it is your drug of choice. The narcissist is addicted to their supply, that is to me. We're addicted to supplying their supply. And so we have that trauma bonding with them. And so we want to see it as something that is cunning, baffling, and powerful, as Alcoholics Anonymous says. That enmeshment is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And we want to begin to see that connectedness as our addiction, not as a healthy, loving relationship. Stop over-functioning. Start under-functioning. Function with regard to yourself, but under-function with regard to the narcissist and those around them. Often we have over-functioned, paid for this, paid for that, absorbed and taken up all of their pain and struggles and difficulties that they've had. We pay and pay and pay for the narcissistic connection with us and for that narcissist relationship. During this phase, we make a determination we're going to stop over-functioning. We're going to, and if anything, under-function. If you've over-functioned, then you under-function, then you can come back to a balance. But the first is begin to under-function. No, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not able to do that. And help and have support from those people you're borrowing self from, your supportive friends, your supportive groups, who will support you in you saying no. Realize that it is okay to let's see what. Oh, now I know. Realize that it's okay to break your promises. Many times, people who are in relationship with narcissists will feel guilty. Well, I promised them this. I promised them I'd do that. If I cut off from the narcissist, then I won't keep all of my promises. Remember, you've made your promises while under the influence. If someone came to you and they were absolutely drunk and said, hey, I'll take you to Miami Beach, and I'm fortunate to be down here in Miami South Beach during this week, and if somebody promises that they'll take you to Miami Beach while drunk, and then you come back to them and you say, well, hey, you're going to take me to Miami Beach, aren't you, Bob? And Bob goes, what are you talking about? And, oh, that's right, you were drunk, so I guess we probably aren't going to Miami. No, we're not. And we understand that if you're under the influence, you make bad promises. You overfunction. You overpromise. And so I believe it's okay to break those promises while made under the influence of a narcissist or made under the influence of enmeshment, emotional enmeshment. And remember, consider you are under the influence. I would consider also in the first 10 days you might want to think about treatment. Many have experienced PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Many have experienced depression, pain, trauma, codependency, and sometimes for many it could be very helpful to go into treatment, even inpatient treatment, to get away and to find yourself in an emergency way. I know one site that we have used, it's called On Site, and it's down in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a treatment facility that would help with codependency and trauma and those kinds of things. Also, don't believe any change, don't believe in the narcissistic hibernation, and don't believe love bombing during this period. When love bombing happens, hey, I love you, I don't know why you're upset, I'm so sorry you're unhappy, it was all my fault. Don't believe that. Don't believe hibernation, where all of a sudden they become wonderful and not the narcissist. That's where their narcissism has gone into hibernation. And don't believe the change that you see. Real change does not happen for a year. That's one of the things when I used to help folks in inpatient treatment for alcohol and drug abuse, and they would say, wives would come in, and I would treat the family members who come in for the alcoholic and addict, and they would say, hey, well, when do we know they've really changed? And the rule is always, at a year, you've got a good hope that there's really change happening. And that's what I tell folks when they're going to say, well, you've really messed up my life, you've been into drugs or alcohol, or you promised this or you promised that, and you don't keep your promises. If you can do that for a year, then we can maybe be out of the woods. But it's very hard for people to stay true and to not be that toxic self for a year. If they can, they just might be changing. Trust your experience with the narcissist. Trust your story. You are a war victim. It's hard to tell other people many times because they don't believe us, or they don't believe what we're saying. I remember when I dealt with, as a pastor, a narcissistic couple, a very wounded narcissistic couple, and I would tell other people this is how they were being, and they just couldn't believe it. They go, oh, Jerry, I think you're just misreading. I wasn't misreading anything. And I remember having that cognitive dissonance of, are they crazy or am I crazy? Who's crazy here? Because one of us has got to be crazy. And then one night I remember sitting on my bed going, I'm not crazy. It's them. And that was a huge, huge beginning for me to change in trusting that I know I was not seeing things. And no matter what anybody said, I knew what I knew. Another point would be it can be useful to not try to sort out all of your cognitive dissonance. In other words, those I'm thinking both one way and another way at the same time. Don't try to work those out with the narcissist. You're not going to get anywhere. The best thing to stay with the narcissist is just confused. Well, why don't you come back to me? I'm being real nice right now, and we could have a good relationship. See, I'm sorry I hurt you. The best mental state to stay in is confused and on your goal to find yourself. I hear what you're saying, Bill, Mary, I hear what you're saying, but I'm confused right now, and I'm going to stay confused right now, thank you. And I will continue staying confused until I get things cleared up. But you telling me things is not going to clear that up. Also, we want to stop minimizing and stop rationalizing that things are not that bad. I don't know how long I used to put in that process, especially like this couple that I had when I was a pastor. And over again I say, well, it's not that bad. I mean, they do this or they do that. But it really was very toxic. It was toxic for the church. It was toxic for me. It caused a lot of emotional pain and drama. And I would minimize it and rationalize it. Whenever we are with the narcissist, we do tend to do that because we do tend to give folks and give people around us a break. With a narcissist, it's very dangerous to give them a break. And if we know what we know, stay with what you know. Believe what you know. Believe what you've seen. Believe how they've betrayed you. Believe how they've been angry with you. Believe how they've been non-empathetic. How they've focused on themselves. How they've been angry over nothing. How they desire you to be a certain way and to shape you into being the person they want you to be. Believe that and believe it. And find some professionals and find some friends who will believe you. Also, remember, you are operating out of a pseudo-self. The narcissist is operating out of a pseudo-self, a not real self, and so are we. They are because they have narcissistic personality disorder. We are doing it because we have selflessness, we don't have self, and we are codependent. We've probably never known ourselves, and so we operate out of a pseudo-self. In other words, I'll be or do whatever you need me to be or do to make people happy. That's a pseudo-self. I'm always scanning and make sure that I'm keeping the image right. I'm not doing it because I want to or I believe, or it's because those aren't important. My wants, needs, beliefs, values, opinions are not important. I just need to live in a way that everybody else likes me. That's a pseudo-self. That's not an authentic, real self. So remember, you're going to be operating out a pseudo-self for a while. You need to be with people who can be supportive of you during this vulnerable stage while you're beginning to back out of the pseudo-self and finding a real self. There are many more things that I could share with you about losing a narcissist in 10 days. And I'd be happy to work with you. You can contact me at the telephone and the email address that I have on the screen. I've got 120 some videos on YouTube. Whether you live in Los Angeles or Miami Beach or the Midwest or in any country around the world in which you have internet connection, I work with individuals, couples, even families, to help them in their recovery and finding a sense of self. That is my expertise. I really want to thank you for watching today. I hope this video was a help to you, and have a great day. Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach, and I've been helping people learning about self-differentiation for 45 years. And this video is entitled Neutral Responses, the Power to Self-Differentiate. I hope you'll join my YouTube channel and you'll click the bell to be notified for new videos that come out. I also have a master class coming up. It should be in December or January. You can check on my website for that. And I hope you'll join me for that 4-hour master class that we'll be doing together. And it's on reactivity and reducing your reactivity. I think it will really help a lot of folks. So what are neutral responses? And neutral responses are very helpful as a means to stay yourself while connected with other people. Someone says to you, "I'm so upset that you're still dating that woman." Well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset. And again, it's a neutral response. I'm not addressing the push or pull or the defensive or being defensive or reactive. And I'm ignoring the issue that they have, which would be with me or you dating that woman. And I'm ignoring that issue, which is my issue and my choice, not theirs. So why would I address that? Why would I argue with them about who I'm dating? That's not for them to control or decide. So I'd simply say, well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, you want to grab some lunch? I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, how's Dad doing? Again, we are not pulled into the issue that they have. We stay more calm. We stay less reactive. So neutral responses are self-differentiation moves when other people are trying to bait us or pull us in with their issues or enmeshment. They are a don't take the bait responses is what they are. Because many times, if somebody says, "Are you still dating that woman?" they're baiting me about my dating life. Well, I don't need to sort that through with them. I don't need to get their approval. And remember, there are a couple of rules that are really important. You don't have to answer any question that everyone or anyone asks of you, except to a police officer, a judge, a boss, or something like that. You are not required to answer any question. But you also don't have to get reactive to not answer it. And second of all, you never have to address the issues that are yours, not theirs, even though they think it's an issue for them too. Obviously, in the first statement, they were upset, "I'm dating this woman," or "still dating this woman." Well, that's their issue if they're upset with me dating her. It's not my issue. And I don't have to address other people's emotional states. That will just get me pulled in and baited in. Neutral statements help us keep us more separate while staying connected. I don't have to run away, nor do I have to be reactive or conflictual with them. Reactivity causes more distance, I have to run away, or conflict. And conflict is a result of reactivity. Just as overfunctioning can be as a result of reactivity, triangles as a result of reactivity, running away a result of reactivity, or complying and giving in and just going along with whatever they say and trying to make them feel better about the issue is reactivity. Neutral responses guide and force us to deal with what we really need to deal with or to work on. If we stay neutral, it brings up our issues to the forefront. In other words, because a lot of people say, well, that's hard for me to do, Jerry. It's hard for me to be neutral. I know it's hard. I've been practicing it for decades. It takes practice, and it's not easy. And many people say, oh, it just seems so easy for you. No, it hasn't been easy. It's taken me a long time to develop a healthier self and neutral responses. And that helps to keep me calm and thinking rather than reactive and feeling. And then my thoughts get all jumbled up. And when you're challenged to give a neutral response, just like when I go to the person who says, are you still dating that woman? And I go, well, I'm sorry to hear that's upsetting to you. And then I stop, find out what that brings up for you. And often what would be brought up for me is I'm trying to get their acceptance and I'm acceptance seeking. I'm trying to get their approval and I'm approval seeking. I'm wishing they would know me better. I wish they had a better relationship with me. But all of those are immature wishes and wants. This is the way they are, and I'm accepting the way they are, but I have to deal with my neediness if I give a neutral response. And that's a healthy thing to do. Deal with your issues rather than trying to resolve those issues by, oh, well, let me tell you, she's really nice. I think you'd really like her. No, she's not like she used to be. And then I'm defensive, I'm reactive, and I'm trying for approval seeking. Neutral responses include 2 or 3 components. One is empathy or understanding. Second is declaring self. And thirdly, maybe being silent or saying less and not taking the bait. And when I said, oh my, you must be upset about that issue. Hey, what are we going to have for lunch? I was empathetic. I simply remained silent about the issue because it's not theirs to confront me with. It's my dating life. Why are they interfering in my dating life? Now, they could say, are you still dating that woman? And I could declare self, which is one of the components, and I could say, well, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm sorry you feel upset about that. Hey, what do you want to do today? Neutral responses include taking a stance that avoids their issues, their feelings, and their reactivity about my life. But I want to take a stance that it's not my circus, not my monkeys. If you're upset about me dating this woman, that's your monkeys, your circus. It's not mine. Because I get to decide who I date, for how long, in what way, or what kind of relationship I have. If you're upset by it, then we're enmeshed. Because adults respect other adults and respect other adults' choices. It doesn't mean we can't be caring or concerned if there's real problems with a relationship that we want to raise with another adult, but we do that respectfully, not reactively. Neutral responses help us to stay calm because often we engage others with our intensity and reactivity. And you can tell you're being reactive if you feel like you want to lecture, criticize, whine, complain, try to get acceptance, or try to be fused or have more togetherness or have this warm fusion that we have. Versus being neutral and non-judgmental and staying out of their circus. Because by me staying out of their circus, I'm telegraphing them to stay out of my circus. Who I'm dating is my circus, my monkeys. It's not your circus, your monkeys. Actually, this is a means by which we move closer to become more separate. I become empathetic, don't get into the issues that are theirs, And so I stay connected while being myself with a neutral response. And relationships are paradoxical. They're a paradox. To be closer, we need more separateness. To be more separate, we need more closeness. Both of those are true. And that's what neutral responses can help me with, is the second one. More separateness. To be more separate, we need to be closer. I'm engaging the person, but I'm not engaging in their monkeys, their circus about me. And so we actually are closer because I'm not rejecting them. I'm just not reacting to their reactivity. Neutral responses help us stay connected without cutting off and without being reactive. When our reactivity is activated by others, learning to give neutral responses help us reduce our reactivity and keeps us more calm and often has a positive effect on others. My coaching involves lots of role plays and using neutral and self-differentiating responses to grow ourselves up, to keep calm, and change the relationship dynamics and emotional process. Here are some examples of some neutral responses. Here's a detriangulation neutral response, because triangles often are a part of reactivity. A parent says, "Do you know what your sister did to me?" "No, but it must have upset you. I hope you've talked to her about it." Not my circus, not my monkeys. Her circus, her monkeys. My sister's circus, her monkeys. But I can be concerned that she was upset. That's fine. I can be empathetic. Your husband told your father that he didn't really like the lamb we had for dinner. I think that is rude, and I hope you will talk to him, Mary. Mom, I don't know if he said that or not. I assume he did, but maybe you or Dad could talk to him about what he said. I thought the lamb was great. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Your upsetness doesn't become something I own. It becomes something you have to take responsibility for as an adult, and an adult relationship with other people, without me triangulating in it. Rather than, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mom, that he said that. I'll go and talk to him. I hope everything's okay. I thought the lamb was great." Now I'm enmeshed. Now I'm looking for acceptance and approval. And now she's parenting me, and now I got to go parent my husband. Mary has to go parent her husband. And that's not going to work out well in their marriage. "Jerry, your son threw a cigarette butt in my flower garden." Well, that seems rude. You may want to talk to him about that. Mom says, "But that is why I'm telling you. And that's why I'm telling you." Mom, my parenting years stopped long ago. I would just go and talk to him about his behavior or rudeness or insensitivity. Not my circus, not my monkeys. If my son's 35 years old, why am I supposed to go parent him? Because he did something you didn't like. You go and talk to him as an adult. And in fact, he'd probably be happy to talk with you about that and, might apologize or whatever. But still, not my monkey, not my circus. Saying no without feeling guilty responses are part of neutral responses we can have. I want you and your family to be here on Christmas Eve for supper, and you probably should arrive about 5 p.m. And because of the dating of this video, the holidays are coming up. I know we've always come to your house, Dad, on Christmas Eve, but we've decided to do something special for our family Christmas Eve this year. So I'd like to plan a different day and time with you and Mom. You have to be kidding, Dad said. No kid of mine would not show up for Christmas Eve dinner. Shame. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Guilt. It's already October and we're planning our normal family gathering with all the family. Well, Dad, we just recently decided this and we felt 2 months' notice would be enough and plenty of time to let you know. But, well, you know this will cause us as a family not to be with everyone on the same day, and it will upset everybody, and your mom will feel hurt. Well, Sally and I are looking forward to something different and special for our own family this Christmas Eve. We would be available any other time to get together, Dad. Now, if you notice, I didn't, not my circus, not my monkeys, that everyone else would be upset. Mom would be hurt. I'm not making anybody be hurt. I'm declaring something that I would like to do as an adult and with my own family. I don't have to fix everybody's feelings about that. Now, I could be more empathetic and say, I'm sure this change probably would be, and I think I even said, I'm sure that might feel disappointing, Dad. So I can be empathetic. I'm sure Mom might be disappointed. My siblings might be disappointed. But this is something that, Sally and I want to do. And just because they're disappointed doesn't mean I have to live under the threat that if they're disappointed, I'd better change. Welcome to the world of disappointment. We all have disappointments. And I'm not doing this with any malice. If you notice in my response, I share some empathy. I declared myself of what we wanted to do. I stayed silent about some things I have no control over, like how everyone will be upset. I can't fix all of that and don't need to. It's not for me to fix anyway. And if you'd like, Dad, I could say, if you'd like, Dad, I'd be happy to tell Mom and tell the siblings what Sally and I plan to do this year. So I'm willing to take the heat from them, but I'll do the same neutral responses with them and go, I'm sure it's disappointing, but this is what we've chosen to do. And so I would talk with each one individually. I don't have to have Dad go tell them all. Dad, I'm willing to go and talk to everybody. Don't worry about that. It's my choice. And I don't have to triangle through Mom and Dad to tell siblings and everybody. Then everybody gets in an uproar and it becomes a major triangulated mess. I care about the feelings of others, but I keep my foot nailed to the floor so I can only go around in these circles and not be persuaded to give in or to comply. So I want my foot nailed to the floor this is what we're doing for Christmas Eve, and we're not doing what we've always done with the family for Christmas Eve. I'm just nailing my foot to the floor. Now, I don't mind talking about how empathetic I feel or how that may feel disappointing or hurtful to Mom, if that's what she's going to feel. But I have no control over that. They are not my monkeys, not my circus. I care, but it's still not my circus. Those are your feelings, not feelings I'm making everybody have. Because believe it or not, a family could be, well, I understand that. Why don't we plan another day? Or why don't you get together with the siblings at this time, Mom and Dad at this time? I mean, there's lots of options. To work on neutral responses, we can learn to do these things because it takes practice. And again, I've had people share with me, oh, Jerry, you're just so good at those neutral responses. You just know what to say. There were long, long years I had no idea what to say. And I would say the wrong things. I would get reactive. I would try to comply. I would try to fix everybody's feelings. I did all of that. Then I began to work on giving neutral responses in a calm way, which calms me down and many times helps to keep the other person calm down. Because Calmness can be contagious if you hold on to it. You can first write down what they might challenge you about. Write down your possible responses that are non-reactive. Or as I've talked about, what would Betty do? What would Betty say? Think you're the neighbor, and how would your neighbor respond to your parents about changing Christmas Eve? Or how would Betty share with them about not being able to come to Christmas Eve? Somebody who's detached and not enmeshed. What would Betty say? Or you can say, what would Jerry say? I have a lot of people who do that too and say, well, I'm trying to think, well, what would Jerry say in this situation? You can write down your possible responses and practice them so you do not go into autopilot or reactivity pilot when you are addressing difficult or highly charged situations. Use a calm and mature voice. Make sure you are calm. You can even keep it low level. Don't make it high level volume. Now, there may be a challenge. And they may say, oh, well, this can't be. We got to change this. What would you say if they said, and you probably know what their challenge would be. What would be your next response? What would their next challenge be? What would your next response be? And if you have that worked out ahead of time, you'll be a lot more calmer and be ready. And many times we can predict the behavior of other people in our family. We know exactly what they're going to say. Because when I do role plays with clients, they know exactly what their families would say. And then I would say this, and I'd say, well, what would your sister say to that? What would your husband say if I said that? And they know, because we know what those responses are going to be for the most part. You can prepare your neutral, non-reactive responses. And of course, whenever we make a change, there's 3 stages of resistance to go through. Why are you doing this? Secondly, you need to stop doing this. And fourthly, stop doing this or else. And if we can stay calm, neutral, and non-reactive through all those stages, then a greater acceptance tends to come over time. And we're training others to experience and accept the new me without doing harm, without doing damage. I don't have to yell or to be in conflict or overfunction or triangulate, or I don't have to do any of those things. In me choosing to be me. Over time, they're going to go, well, you know how Jerry is. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. Well, good. That's what I want to do in my life, is do whatever I want to do. I'm an adult. I get to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about my family or care about my spouse, care about my kids, I care about neighbors, I care about everyone, but I still have a right to do what I want to do as an adult. I want to share with you, I've got that 4-hour master class coming up probably in December or January, taught by me. We will be sending out notices to everyone on our email list, reducing your reactivity. I hope you'll click subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified when new videos come out. Join as a YouTube member. That really helps us to produce these videos. It only costs $1.99 a month. And you can join as a YouTube member, and you can see the button for join and become a paid member for $1.99 a month. And that helps us produce these videos for you. I hope you'll follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. And be wise. Hey, hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach, and I've been in the people helping business for 45 years or so. And this video is entitled Moving from Cause and Effect Thinking to Process Thinking. I'm doing a brief series. This is number 2. I hope you'll watch number 1. which was my previous video. And I hope that you'll join this YouTube channel. I hope you'll support the YouTube channel by joining as a member for a small amount each month to help bring free videos to this, to the audience and those who want this kind of information. And then also there's a workshop coming up on February 6th, coming up very shortly, 2021, on Saturday, the entire afternoon. You can join me and other participants in that workshop entitled Getting Your Family of Origin Out of You. And I hope you'll join me for that. And you can sign up on the link below. I think there's also might be a link here on the video itself. This particular video, again, is moving from a cause and effect thinking to process thinking. And why is that important? It is important because it gives us more options as to how we can change ourselves in the system and how we can change the relationship system if we can see more and zoom out. This series, the first video was shifting from feelings to thinking, and that's the name of it. Moving from feelings to thinking is the name of the video. This one is moving from cause and effect to process thinking, and then the third one will be moving from a focus on self to a focus on the system. And I want to thank Peter Teitelman in his book, The Therapist's Own Family, which is a great family systems book. I think every therapist should read it. So let's talk about moving from cause and effect to process thinking. I think about a situation that I was involved in recently in which a son an adult son, was asked by his alcoholic or narcissistic father to bring his sister, who's also an adult, to live with him because she was under functioning and having trouble with drugs or other kinds of difficulties. And he felt compelled to do that. And so he went and got his sister, and then he, again, was hoping Dad would be supportive because he was supporting his sister. His dad was supporting his sister financially. His dad's a successful man and well-to-do. And so he was able to support his sister, but doesn't support his son. And really never has. He's kind of the scapegoat over-functioner. And the sister's kind of the golden child under-functioner. And so Dad said, well, you need to go get her and bring her to your place. And then he wasn't going to help with that. So he gives the son a call. The son feels he needs to overfunction at this point. And then as he complains, well, my dad always dumps on me. My family always dumps on me. And then he always ignores me. He doesn't support me, but he'll support my sister with anything she wants, even if it's not healthy or enables my sister. But he always calls on me, but won't pay for his choices. And so he feels very victimized, and he feels blaming of his father, which in the thumbnail for this video, I show a mallet hitting you on the head, which is the cause and effect thinking. And then in the mallet, I show all the different things that are going into this mallet. It's not just Dad's choices that go into the mallet. It's also the son's choices as well. Because we have an over-functioning son, under-functioning sister, an enabling father who's unhealthy. And again, that's a whole cause and effect way of looking at it. And so he continues to try to get his dad to function and send him money to help support his sister since she's living there. And he ignores him and doesn't send the kind of help that would be helpful for him to take care of his sister, at least for a while, until she can move back home with her mother or whatever plans for the future. And so if we move to a more processed thinking of this particular problem, and again, it's easy to blame dad, feel victimized, and when we're blaming and victimized, we generally are thinking in a cause and effect way. He is doing this to me. I'm hurt, end of story, and that's what's going on. So I either need to change him or I need to change me. But when we're thinking cause and effect, we often want to change the person with the mallet. We want to change that person. And we don't think about changing ourselves because we feel like a victim of the system. Because this is the way the son's always functioned for many, many years. So as we think about this as a process, and let's think through this. We have an alcoholic narcissistic parent who is feeling a considerable amount of anxiety over his golden child daughter, wants her taken care of. He feels anxiety. He shifts the anxiety over to the son by saying, you need to go get her and you need to take care of her till we can figure out something. Even though it costs you money or you have to take care of her, though the dad was taking care of her down in where she was at. And so then he stops sending that help. He just wants the son to do that. Whereas the daughter has always been dependent on the dad for all of her life and expenses. And the son then is in denial about what he can expect from an alcoholic narcissistic father. He thinks dad should act right. Well, an alcoholic narcissistic dad is not going to act right. To even expect that is unrealistic. Second of all, he's also in denial of his own codependency and his own overfunctioning. Dad will ask or expect and then not give or help. Then that creates lots of anxiety within the son because he's expecting son to do this, and even talks about how it would really be a loving family spirit if you did this. Well, dad doesn't do a loving family spirit. The son needs to do a loving family spirit thing. So he's very do as I say, not as I do, which often is the case for narcissists or alcoholics. The son then overfunctions out of his anxiety. He does worry about his sister, but he can't fix her. And he feels pressure from dad to do this, so he's feeling lots of anxiety, and so he overfunctions. He goes and gets her, brings her back, and then she comes there, and dad basically goes, oh, well, there's no hurry to help financially because she's in a better spot. I don't have to worry about her now. Well, he's dropped her off on his son's doorstep, which then does what? Raises resentment and anger in the son for how the dad is treating the son, and also resentment and anger because the daughter is so underfunctioning and hasn't grown up, even though she's an adult, because she's always been babied or the golden child. So she feels entitled. And then when he tries to reach out to dad to try to get him to, hey, can you send me some financial help because you asked me to go help my sister, etc. Oh, yeah, I need to do that. I'll do that. And dad just forgets it. He doesn't care. It's not a big issue. It's not a big concern on his part because he doesn't have the daughter living with him. The son has the daughter living with him. So there's no pressure on him to do anything. The problem has been temporarily solved because the daughter was so underfunctioning, either in drug addiction or problems that she was having, and a very bad boyfriend who was abusive and all of that. So now dad's relieved. Well, she's out of that situation. Hey, problem solved. But it's now solved on the back of the son. And then the son, in his pendulum type swinging that we do as codependents, then either complies to resolve his anxiety. Okay, I'll go get my sister, and that will resolve the immediate concern or problem. But then there can be moving back to the other swing of the pendulum, where we then feel angry, resentful, or we want to blow up with dad to try to get him to change and to be supportive of what he's asked me to do or the son to do. Unfortunately, this pattern reinforces the dad to continue to do this because he knows his son will always give in to that underfunctioning and he will overfunction. The son will overfunction. And it just tells him that's going to keep happening and that he can be okay with asking for these things. He can tolerate the compliance. Dad can tolerate the anger or resentment. Because the one thing he doesn't have to do in this scenario is change himself. He doesn't have to change himself if we're just swinging back and forth. And I think that happens with parenting as well. When you have a child and we'll either let it go or ignore a problem with a child, or we'll become angry and upset with a child. Many times a child will say, I can accept either of those options as long as I don't have to change. Just because dad yells or just because mom puts me in a corner, I can deal with that and I'll keep doing my behavior because I can tolerate their swings. And I know they're going to swing, so I don't need to change because they haven't been definitive or put their foot down and let me feel the great part of the consequences. They feel the consequences. Mom and dad for the son, not in this instance, but if you have a child, we feel the consequences. We're upset with their behavior. What we want to do is shift that to where I'm not upset, but now you're going to be upset with the consequences of your behavior. So I want to shift that to them rather than me being the one upset. Okay, well then we have certain punishments or consequences that will happen in which they feel uncomfortable. You don't get to visit Tommy's house. You don't get to watch TV. So you feel the unhappiness rather than me feeling the unhappiness for your behavior. So back to our father, son, daughter scenario. And again, the daughter's a golden child and dad's always preferred her over the son. Doesn't care much for the son, but he's the good overfunctioner. And he's not done bad things, but he's scapegoated and it becomes a real problem. And then he gets the expectations to take care of everybody. And dad looks at the daughter as, oh, that's my golden child, I need to take care of her, to the exclusion of everybody else. So how is this a problem when we think about cause and effect thinking to process thinking? When we have cause and effect thinking, it's easy for us to focus on the mallet. Dad's doing something to me. Sister is doing something to me. It's easy to stay zoomed in that cause and effect type of thinking. But then who am I leaving out in the functioning when I zoom into the cause and effect thinking? I'm leaving out my functioning and my choices and decisions in that. I'm just a victim. It's just happening to me. And now I'm mad and angry about it. And then that leads to blaming. If only they would do this. If only dad would do that. If only my sister would grow up and go get a job or go to school or something. Do something healthy. If only thinking comes in and blaming. Process thinking focuses on the what versus the why. What is going on? And when I was trying to describe the anxiety as it flowed down through all of these folks, and I could add the daughter and her anxiety too, but as I talk about that anxiety, I'm talking about what's going on, not necessarily why are they doing it. They are doing it because they're out of their anxiety. That's the way they've learned to do it, and probably the family has learned to do it for generations. Because dad grew up in an abusive home. He may have been a protector of his sister growing up. And so now he's going to protect his daughter. And that comes from his past, and he feels really anxious when his daughter is under functioning. And then that anxiety gets pushed out to daughter, to son, and all of this chaos then ensues. And what we often miss in cause and effect thinking is my role in the process, my functioning in the process. We stay focused on sister, dad, and blame them for my discomfort versus all the interactive chain of events, or as I talk about, the anxiety hot potato that gets passed back and forth that keeps everybody functioning as they always have. And I want to get rid of the hot potato. And the hot potato is that anxiety that propels me and compels me to overfunction, underfunction. And so that's where differentiation or detachment really helps us to grow, because then we're not just a victim of that hot potato going all around the system. And we begin to see how we fuel this interaction. And so what are the benefits of thinking this way, in a process way versus cause and effect? We see more, and so we zoom out so we can see more of what's going on. We also see more ways to alter the process, because in any one of those steps that I described of that anxiety coming down from daughter to dad to son, we can do a block of that anxiety at that point if we're willing to do the work. And we focus on us as a means of change versus blaming, triangulating. Oh, I'll go tell somebody how awful this was. You don't know, my dad's crazy, my sister's crazy, da 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 da. Well, yeah, and you get all of their craziness aimed at you. It also empowers us to interact with greater calmness. If we see the system, it empowers us when we calm down and go, wait a minute, what am I feeling anxious about? What am I worried about? I need to work on that, because that will help me to be an adult that makes intentional choices for me and for them in a healthy way. For example, one example might be, okay, Dad, knowing this is the way Dad operates, I will have, she can come and live with me for 1 month. And then after 1 month, she's either going back into the same situation she was in, or she can go live with Mom. That's my boundary. So I'm giving, but I'm not totally surrendering to whatever Dad wants and his neglect and his lack of help, which we already know is probably coming because we know him, though we tend to be in denial about that. And so that greater calmness helps us to use process thinking better. It helps us to intervene better and to make different choices. Because I might have said another choice we might have, instead of just being anxious when Dad calls, because he's bringing the anxiety to you, is to go, I'm going to stay calm. It sounds like my sister needs to go live with Mom. Why don't you either fly her there, give her a bus ticket, and let her go live with Mom? That would be the best thing. Because in the back of my mind, which I'm not saying, is that this isn't going to work out well. He's not going to support me. He's just going to dump her onto me, and I'll have to take care of her. And this is going to be a problem. And I can't fix her anyway, and she's not looking for help. She's never had to look for help. She's been enabled, entitled, coddled, and been the golden child, and not had to grow up. Well, now, am I supposed to grow her up? Am I supposed to parent her now? And it becomes a real problem. And so again, it helps us if we can learn to look at things in a process way versus a cause and effect way. And I think that there are some books by like Harriet Lerner, The Dance of Anger. And her books start with the word dance. Because instead of cause and effect, which is A causes B, she talks about it being a dance that is a process. The dance of anger, which has to do with women, females, and their mothers. Though it's very helpful for men as well. The dance of connection, the dance of intimacy, the dance of fear. And she uses the word dance because it is a systemic problem, not just a cause and effect problem. I want to thank you for listening today. Please join this YouTube channel, support our channel, sign up for the workshop on February 6th, Getting Your Family of Origin Out of You. And again, you have a great day. And be wise. Hey, hi, everyone. I want to talk about deep fears narcissistic parent abuse survivors may live with when they become adults. My name is Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years, I've been helping people heal through self-differentiation and family dysfunction, and helping them to get the family dysfunction out of them and become their true selves that they were never allowed to be. In this video, I'm going to talk about these deep fears. And it is very common that those who grow up in narcissistic homes and narcissistic abusive homes will be left with fears throughout their adulthood unless we address them. Not that there isn't trauma, not that there isn't continued traumatization into adulthood. Certainly these events will cause some long-lasting effects. But I think that what I share and talk about in terms of self-differentiation, healing, and recovery can reduce the problems of these fears considerably. These fears are programmed fears. They're internalized fears. They are learned fears. I'm not saying they're not real fears, but I'm saying they are learned and they are programmed. And we can begin to work on deprogramming that. And that's very important. So what are some of these fears? Fear of wasting your life while you could have been living. Well, I just have wasted my life. And that's common for adult children of narcissists. Also, adult children of alcoholics, adult children in general, many times tend to think they will live a shorter life than other people. I probably won't live to be that old, kind of fear or acceptance of that. And I know the research did bear that out, that that's one thing, a fear that adult children tend to have, is they won't live as long as other people. Another fear is your healthiest and most attractive years were spent alone, uncomfortable, and insecure. In other words, what I have going for me, my youth, my looks, my ability to make money, whatever, will be wasted, and I will not be comfortable, and I will feel insecure. We can also fear of what it takes to address your loneliness. If you feel lonely, isolated, and disconnected, what will I fear to reach out and become vulnerable to associates and to other people, or to have a relationship that I want to have? And again, I may fear what it will take to do that. And believe it or not, there are many people who can do that without fear. And so if there are some people that can do that without fear, there are many people who can do that without fear. Even those of us who have been programmed to fear that. So that I believe there is good news. We also may have the fear of being the victim of unfairness my entire life. I'm going to forever be the scapegoat. I will forever be a victim of other people. Abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, manipulation. I will be the victim of that. And I will always be the victim of that. And again, we have to address that programming. That's very important. And it feels very much like us, meaning it feels very much like exactly who we are. I hope I am, in some of these videos, describing how you feel and how you think, but I'm not asserting it as how you are as a true self and the true you. We really have these fears. We really think this way, but that doesn't mean that's our true self. That's a pseudo self that has been programmed by our dysfunction, trauma, abuse, and narcissistic home growing up. We may also have a fear of being the victim of unfairness so immense that it would derail all progress you've made so far. And again, I will just fall into some kind of depression or sadness, and then I will be incapacitated. Having been a recovering person from major depression, I understand how debilitating depression can be. It's horrible. And it feels so lonely. And even depression has its own way of thinking, depressiogenic thinking, as well as its own way of feeling. And again, a depressed person will think the glass is half empty. A non-depressed person will think the glass is at half full. And we tend to see things in a negative way, not because we're negative people, but because of the illness or disease of depression that we think this way. But we fear falling into some type of mental illness or depression that will debilitate us. We fear of being defeated or influenced by someone and losing my one life to someone else. In other words, I will be manipulated or defeated or influenced in some way that I will lose me while either trying to be in a relationship, wanting to be in a relationship, continuing to be in a relationship, and in losing me, that's what's going to happen in the future. It may be what's happening right now to you. The good news is I believe there are ways that you can come up out of the hole without digging it deeper. And I have helped people, work with people, help them even get out of physically abusive relationships in which they were very frightened and afraid to make their exit if they needed to do that. It may take a while. And if it's somebody who's sensitive, competent, and able to help you do that, I believe people can change their lives and find more freedom and find someone whom truly cares about them. But we have to do some self-changing first. We may have a fear of never experiencing being healed. And I definitely feared that many years ago as I was beginning my road to recovery and working towards becoming more self-differentiated and doing the work of self-differentiation. I was very afraid of, I'm not ever going to feel any better. I'm going to always see the world this way. I'm going to always feel this way. Nothing's going to change. And I tried many, many, many things. Therapeutically, reading books. I tried many, many things because I wanted things to be different. I just hadn't learned how can they be different? I want them different, but I just didn't feel like I was getting a very good map to making them different. I believe the work of self-differentiation is a good map. It's not a quick fix, but it's at least the right map to where you want to go. And I think that you can take the map and travel a mile, or you can take the map and travel 10 miles. Depends on, it's up to you and what you choose to do. But getting a map that's bad or doesn't work, it almost doesn't matter how hard you work. You're not going to get further down the journey. And that's what I found in working with family systems and self-differentiation, that the map was the most helpful. You may fear continuing the cycle for yourself and for your children. In other words, I'm just going to continue this mess and continue these ways of thinking that will affect my children. They then will be messed up. And of course, I'm sure there are many of you that feel like you've already messed up your children. Well, believe it or not, I'm a parent as well. Believe it or not, was I a perfect parent, a perfect dad? Absolutely not. I have my own problems, my own issues. I didn't know much about how to parent very well. My parents have some abilities in some ways and some not abilities in terms of parenting. And so you can join the club of not being the perfect parent. What I found in the work of self-differentiation is parenting may end. In other words, if my son, who is now getting close to middle age, if my son is an adult and so he doesn't need a parent, I'm still his father, but he doesn't need a parent. And I want him to not need a parent. I want him to be his own parent. And I realize that, I've done plenty of mistakes. What can I do now to influence the relationship to bring more calmness, more healthiness, more a sense of self to my relationship with my son, my granddaughter, my family? What can I do to do that? Because that relationship continues on. And so I can continue to affect my son, granddaughter, and their children by how I manage my own relationship in the relationship system now. Even if I've made mistakes in the past, I can make things different. Can't change the past, but I can make things different now. Another fear is that we'll fear ending up with emotionally unhealthy people your entire life because you still don't see the red flags that you need to be seeing, or you don't see the warning signs in other people. I've found that self-differentiation work even helps in that regard. It matures your clarity and seeing of warning signs. The more mature you are, the more you will see the red flags and warning signs. So working on that work of developing your own sense of self and also gaining self-differentiation, that disconnecting from the family dysfunction, which is in us, we're enmeshed with it, and we begin to move out of that. Of course, they won't be happy about that, but I'm more interested in me being happy than them being happy. And I'm also not doing anything to harm them. I'm simply wanting out of the puzzle. I'm wanting out of the mix or the emotional field we also will talk about. And that can make a huge difference in seeing warning signs in others. It will educate your warning signs in an almost automatic or natural way. You won't be, if we're like this with our family of origin who's dysfunctional and we have that within us, we miss all the signs. So we need them out of us so that what we have is us. Then those signs become more clear in terms of red flags for other people. We have a fear our parents will find a way to ruin our lives, regardless of our progress. And many people fear their parents will continue to ruin their lives or make their lives worse later on. Also, I've had lots of examples of clients that I've worked with whom parents were not nice parents, not good parents, were very narcissistic, very dysfunctional, wounded, traumatized people who never got help and never did their own recovery. And then it comes down to they even continue to cause problems. And then when it gets to inheritance or they pass away, they throw in a whole nother set of problems because then the inheritance is done in a dysfunctional way. And one client I know, leaving them with the problem of being the in-between between dad and their siblings, which often ends up being a mess. It's business that dad should have taken care of before he passed in terms of his relationship with his kids and making decisions, left that to the more codependent, caretaking child, and then everybody else is against them at that point. So the dysfunction continues on, not because of her, but because of the dad. He just never became a self. And I've had lots of people who've experienced those kinds of problems. So we have a fear they're going to ruin our lives. And again, that's a very important reason why if the family dysfunction or the narcissistic parent is still inside of us working emotionally, that's the emotional field that we have, then the more we self-differentiate and move away from that, then the less likely they are to ruin anything as we continue to grow and go. If we try to grow and go this way, we have all this dysfunction inside of us that's still operating. If we can differentiate more, then we can begin to move forward. They can have their dysfunction. That's fine. But I must learn to be me and do some detaching. Fear of not achieving what you wanted in life. Certainly, well, I'll never be happy, or I'll never do what I wanted. I'll never do what will bring me joy. And I believe there are ways to work on that in such a way that you can have a life that is satisfying or happy for you. Is it perfect? I always kind of wanted to be a brain surgeon. The chances of me being a brain surgeon at this age is probably very, very low. So I need to then work on what will bring me joy. I can't be everything I wanted to be. I, in fact, was going to be a lawyer. I was accepted at a couple law schools. That's where I was headed. I wanted to be a lawyer. Probably that's not going to happen now. I made some turns and changes at that time, and that's not going to happen. So that dream is not going to be fulfilled. I mean, anything's possible, but it seems a little, maybe a waste of resources and such for me to go to law school, use up these resources when probably I wouldn't only practice, but a short time. Someone else needs to be in that spot. And so not achieving what we want in life, we fear that. And I think through self-differentiation, it helps us to see more realistically what the world has to offer for us, and more realistically what we have to offer for the world. And that can feel much more satisfying, I believe. A fear of mourning for the rest of my life, even if I decide to be free. Well, if I detach from my family, then who do I have? Then I have nobody, let's say. Now, again, I'm trying to decide, do I want people who treat me badly? Then at least I have somebody, or not have anybody and not be treated badly, but I have all these internal emotions that are causing me lots of pain because I feel disconnected from my family. Everybody else goes to family dinners. I don't, and those kinds of problems. But I think the main goal in that fear is we certainly need to mourn the loss of the life we thought we would have or would want to have with a healthy family. We need to mourn that, and then also begin to make and create what we would like to have. If I can't have them, then who can I have? Who do I want to start choosing a family rather than just being a blood connection to a dysfunctional family? I can start choosing a family, even a small one of one or two people who kind of know me or kind of care about me. I know it's difficult, and I know it can be troubling. I felt very isolated. Even standing in the midst of a crowd who were very positive towards me, but I felt so isolated inside. And so dealing with our own aloneness, I like Margaret Paul's book, Inner Bonding. I think that would be a good book to begin to take care of you rather than, my family will make me happy. My husband or wife will make me happy. My kids will make me happy. No, they're all going to disappoint you. Even though some of them may be wonderful. I mean, I'm not doubting it, but I'm saying they're human like all the rest of us. So I can be more reliable for myself than anyone else can be for me. I can choose to be more reliable for me and more self-caring. We may also have a fear of never finding inner peace and calm. That's a big one for a lot of people. I'll just never have peace and I'll never be calm. And that's one of the things I teach very strongly about. There's a video I made called, I think it's Narcissistic Parents, Calmness is Everything. And I really do believe calmness is so important for us to navigate a healthier life and also to detach from the dysfunction. We may also have a fear of never knowing what normal, healthy, emotionally strong feels like. I wonder what normal feels like. I wonder what emotionally strong feels like, because I had never felt that.
So I thought, why do people have this ability to feel this way and I don't? And I just go, will that ever change? Will something happen that I'll feel more at peace like what they seem to be, or what? I just always was looking out and going, why don't I have that? And how do you get it? And the good news is I got it through the work of self-differentiation, and healing family systems work was really made a huge difference. Let me give you some self-differentiation tips. The roots of many of these lifelong struggles, whether emotional challenges, reactivity, or unhealthy relationships, stem from the lack of self-differentiation. Self-differentiation is the process of learning to separate your sense of self from the emotional entanglements of your family and becoming the authentic person you were always meant to be, regardless of how others behave or whether they approve. Here are some key self-differentiation tips to begin applying to your life. Their abuse and the trauma that they created in their relationship with you is not the real you. Yes, those things really happened. I would never deny, nor that they weren't painful, nor that they were not traumatizing. But that and those things are not the real you. Those were experiences that you had. And I believe we can begin to heal and recover beyond those. Accept where you are today. That's a part of self-love and self-compassion and self-care. It's most of us don't accept where we are. And what I mean by that, love yourself where you are right now. You need love right now, whether you change or not. That's called unconditional love. Give yourself unconditional love without changing. You know, if you smoke 3 packs of cigarettes today and you don't like that, and you think it's an awful thing to do, and I wish I didn't do it, that you can still accept, I am someone who smokes 3 packs a day. That's not what I choose. That's not what I want to do, but it's what I'm choosing to do right now. And I am deserving of love. You're still deserving of love. And so you don't have to change that until you finally become the person that you can accept for yourself. No, acceptance comes first. Change comes later. Remember, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Start learning self-differentiation and do it poorly. It will get better. Use some of the tools and things I've mentioned in these videos. Also, I have a training program that's a 84-minute training. You can sign up for it. It's down below. It's free. It's totally free. Then if you want to go further, there is an online program that can help you begin to do these things. And I always tell people, do it poorly if you can't do it well. It will get better. I started self-differentiating poorly, and now I feel more skilled at it and do better at it and feel better as a result of it. I don't know that all my life issues will be done in one lifetime, but I certainly would like to live more healthy, more mature, and more at ease and happy with myself. And fourthly, learn to get the family super self out of you. The family partakes of one big umbilical cord, our family of origin. So emotional umbilical cord. And we want to cut that umbilical cord. It does not mean, if your family has healthy parts to it, it does not mean cutting everybody off, though there are some people you may want to go no contact with. But even going no contact doesn't guarantee you've gotten the family super self out of you. Distance does not equal detachment. Just because I move away from someone or stop talking to them doesn't mean I've become detached. It means I'm not talking to them, is what that means. And we may need that for our own recovery, but it's that behavioral no contact is not the same thing as emotional detachment. And many people will forget that side of it. They do the no contact, but they don't do the emotional detachment work, which is so important. Please join the free training below. I've got 500 YouTube videos online for you. They're free. I hope you'll subscribe, like, comment. I do read your comments. I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day and be wise.